Hello and welcome to this episode of Quakerism. In this episode, I want to be trying to find the Quaker capital of the UK. And, because this is where Quakerism started, therefore the world. I was thinking, Roman Catholics, they've got Rome. Lutherans, I suppose, have Wittenberg. What's the Quaker capital? Obviously, we don't need one. We're not going to put Paul Parker in like a massive house in one of these places, but where would it be? So, as you can tell by my accent, I am a true born and bred Yorkshireman. Didn't see that one coming, did you? Anyway, it's true. And so, naturally, I believe that the Quaker capital should be in York. However, I know it's a controversial view. I've put together 3 real main candidates for where should be the Quaker capital. Now, the first one is obviously, probably no surprises, is London. Quite a lot of reasons for that, but we'll delve into it a bit later. The second one is York, obviously, which is the right answer. But I'll explain why I think it's the right answer. It's not just my true blood Yorkshire pride telling me that. And the third one is Birmingham. There is a reason. And Quakers will know there's a reason. There's a good argument to be made why Birmingham should be the capital of British Quakerism. Let's do London first. Now, London is obviously the correct answer in terms of like actual facts. Friend's house, arguably the centre of all things Quaker, is in London. That's where most yearly meetings are held. Apart from the time when it's been out and about every 4 years or so, but generally it's in London. The name of Britain Yearly Meeting for a long time used to be London Yearly Meeting. So, good arguments. Also, because it's the UK's biggest city, it is most likely going to have the most Quakers in it. Perhaps not proportionally. I don't know. I'm not sure if these numbers are available, but it certainly is, generally the going to be the place where there are the most Quakers, certainly in the southeast and beyond. Yes, the cat is here again. I'm not sure if you've seen my other video. She's going nowhere. But well, she wants to, but she also doesn't want to go anywhere either. It's complicated. So yes, friend's house, largest proportion of Quakers, and that's where. And Britain Yearly Meeting, the meeting that looks after all of Quakers in Britain, used to be called London Yearly Meeting until relatively recently. So good reasons to think that. And also, I suppose, if you were to look at things like how many meeting houses there are in the area, again, London would win out. Again, on purely numbers, if we were to break this down to how many meetings per person and things like that, then I don't know, we would see. So, York. Why should York be the capital of British Quakerism? Well, put it this way. I think probably, unless you're from Birmingham, I don't know, I wasn't born in Birmingham. I have been, but not really. I don't know. Brummy Quakers, tell me, what do you think? Growing up in York as a non-Quaker, I wasn't a Quaker until I'd left York, but that had nothing to do with it. I knew a lot about Quakers already because, for a number of reasons. There are a lot of prosperous families in York who are big in York, so who are Quakers. So, for example, the Roundtree family, and the Braithwaites. These are quite heavy. You see those names all over the place in York. And so there's that recognition all the time. And so when I came into Quakerism, I found all of these names. Like, there's a street named that, or I know that village, or whatever. And there are also lots of Quaker schools in York, which again I don't know. And in Yorkshire as a whole, I think there are more Quaker schools in Yorkshire than anywhere else. So growing up as a true Yorkshireman in York, I knew of Quakers because there were Quaker schools everywhere. Now, I didn't really necessarily at that point have a very good understanding about what they were, but I knew of them. It's also the birthplace of my all-time Quaker hero, John Wilhelm Rowntree, who was arguably the founder of liberal Quakerism. I'd say if he hadn't have died when he died before he was going to write the Roundtree series, which was Rufus Jones's expose on how Quakerism was actually a mystical religion and nothing to do with Puritanism or anything like that. That was John William Roundtree's idea, and he probably would have done it in a slightly different way, but he agreed with Rufus Jones on quite a lot of important points. And so, if he had lived and he had written these books, and I would argue he would have written them better, then I still would believe he is the founder of modern liberal Quakerism, which we all practice in the UK today. So therefore, if he was from York and pretty much only ever lived in Yorkshire, at least, capital. Um, and my final point on why York should be the capital, which is actually obviously what this video is all about, is that I just found out recently that John Woolman, Quaker heavyweight of the Quietist period, big abolitionist, amazing journal. If you ever get a chance to read the journal of John Woolman, it is fascinating. Big on emancipation for the slaves as well, before his time, in many ways, is buried in York. I think that's phenomenal, and it does speak of this transatlantic connection between Quakers, which existed for a really long time in quite very famous Quakers from the period traveling to and fro right from the very beginning. So George Fox went over a couple of times, I think. William Penn obviously went and founded Pennsylvania. Rufus Jones came here. John William Roundtree tragically died en route to America. And I find this amazing. And so, yeah, we've got one of the big heavyweights, having lost John William Roundtree to America. We did get John Woolman beforehand. So, it kind of all balances out. But all coming back to York ultimately. So, yeah, I would say for just the sheer Quakerness of the area, of the families that are involved, that are household names, I would say. Well, certainly in terms of Roundtree, certainly it certainly in York is everyone would know that name. And the amount of Quaker history in there, I think, is enough for me to say that it should be the capital. However, I think out of these three, probably taking second place in actual fact probably would be Birmingham. Not just because wonderful city, right in the heart of England, easily accessed from all areas, unless you are where I'm living at the moment, in which case nowhere's accessible. But lots of actually good Quaker reasons why Birmingham should be the capital of Quakerism. The main reason is most likely because of Woodbrook and the Learning and Research Centre there, which is basically where, if you want to research Quakerism, that's where you need to go. There are similar things in America. There are quite a few, Pendle Hill, and many others whose names are escaping me at the moment, and so on. But Woodbrook is pretty much the only academic centre of Quakerism in the UK. So therefore, I suppose Birmingham is sort of like maybe the Oxford of of Quakerism, if you want to see it like that, which I'm not sure if I do. But you get that it's got the academic clout that perhaps York just doesn't have, or London, maybe, interestingly. It is also probably home, and I do admit, probably home to the most famous Quaker family, which are the Cadburys. Now, obviously, from a non-Quaker perspective, they're most famous for their chocolate. However, if you read anything about Quakerism, probably particularly in the 1800s, the Cadburys are all over the shop. They're everywhere. And yes, they're making their chocolate, just like the Roundtrees are, but they're also showing quite a lot of the changes that happened to Quakerism over that period. So you had, I can't remember the names anymore, but like you got this one guy, this one Cadbury who's a massive evangelical old school Quaker, and then I think like his children sort of become massive liberals, and there's all hoo-ha. But they're everywhere, and so they are a family which probably, again, if we're talking about household names, Cadbury's probably does win out against Roundtree's. fine. And the Quaker Centre at Woodbrook is obviously very important academically and for research and things like that. And quite a lot of the academic bright lights of Quakerism have either worked there or still working there or live there. So good reason as to why Birmingham probably could be the capital as well. So I don't know. I mean, why do we have three? Why don't we have three? And I don't know, we have massive festivals in each one throughout the year. Maybe Quaker Day this year can take place in massive like concerts or something, or in London, Birmingham, and York. It's just all along that line, going not on the spine of England. It's magical. I mean, I suppose I understand London ultimately being the capital of the UK, mainly because of the fact that it's convenient. It's easy to get to. It's got lots of people. It's easy to organize things from London rather than from other places. It's got the infrastructure and so on. And this is what the early Quakers thought in the first place. So originally, obviously, the Quakerism. I mean, where's the argument for Swarthmore? Somewhere in Cumbria, because that's a tiny village. But that's where Quakerism started in Cumbria, Lancashire, Yorkshire, that whole area. That's where Quakerism started, but it wasn't a good place to spread the message, and the early Quakers recognized that very quickly. So they went to London, and they set up London Meeting relatively quickly because they recognized that if they were going to spread anywhere, you can't do that from Cumbria. You just can't. Especially not in the 1600s. Maybe nowadays you could spread loads of things from Cumbria, but they recognised that it needed to be in London, and so therefore all the infrastructure for 400 years or so has been in London. So I think is that with the problem with London being the capital, if you want to use that word, obviously it's not really an important word to use, but is that because London's so big and that it's very hard to be distinctive as a Quaker place in London, because it is going to be filled with obviously loads of other people, and it's hard to have your own identity there. Whereas I think in a smaller place, maybe with a lot of history, like York, then it can actually be distinctive. And I don't know, you could think of the tourism. Think of the tourism if we actually branded York as the capital of Quake. I mean, it doesn't need it. I mean, if anyone who's been to York, it's beautiful. You really should go. But if we had extra, Quaker tourism should be a thing, and it'd be easy if they had on those massive coaches that they take them on. It'd be very helpful if they had a nice destination to go to. Anyway, I'm going to end my rambling there. If you are not a UK Quaker, or if you are a UK Quaker and you disagree, and you have a good argument to make for somewhere that either I haven't mentioned, or you have better arguments to make for either Birmingham or London, let me know. But if you're not a UK Quaker, where would you say is the capital for Quakerism in your country? America is very interesting, because obviously then there's all the different types of Quakerism. So, I don't know. Where would it be? So let me know. Tell me, what do you think? And maybe we should make a league of Quaker capitals throughout the world. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you liked it, please do click on the thumbs up and the subscribe button to get more videos about Quakerism in the UK today. It really does help, and thanks once again.